Hello, everybody. This is Joshua Hatton with One Nation Under Whiskey Single Cask Nation Extra Edition, and I am joined today, and as always, by my good friend, my business partner, the pink-faced, wide-eyed Jason Neal, Patrick Harris, Johnston Yellen.
Hello again. It's good to be here talking about Single Cast Nation. It's a thing I love. It's a thing I talk about. And now I'm
Right?
being recorded. Huzzah!
We never start one of these and forget to press record, right? Never,
Never know. I don't know what you're talking about.
right?
This is take one.
Right? Take
We're doing
one.
it
Take
live.
one. So I realize there's a number of people who are driving in their car. Maybe they're going for their morning run. Maybe they're showering. Washing their privates as they listen to the sultry sounds of our voices. What they don't know, and what we're about to tell them, is these extra editions, these news editions, you can watch us on YouTube. We're now putting these up on YouTube. So if you enjoy the YouTubes and you are interested in seeing our faces while we talk about whiskey, while we share news, you can do so. So it's the Single Cast Nation YouTube channel. I think it's called a channel. Is that what the kids call it? The
What
channels?
a time to be alive. I don't know
Right?
what the kids call anything ever, so I'm not getting into that business.
Uh, what are we talking about today, Jason? Do we have stuff?
Single casks. Cask
Yes.
strength. Some selected by us and sold online at singlecastnation.com.
Mhm.
Some selected by us and sold specifically, exclusively in certain retail stores, and I believe with a hotel partner.
Right? How cool is it? We as an independent bottler, we bottle the stuff that we fall in love with. We bottle the things that we would reach for of a night, the things that we would be proud to share with friends, with loved ones.
Mhm.
And and then we have retailers who say, "You know what? We love that too." And they spend a lot of money bringing that full cask in to sell it on. And so we said, "You know what? Let's spend a bit of time and highlight these retail partners."
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. The trust, the faith that they have in Single Cask Nation, I think is always nice, and it's something we've certainly tried to do for all 14 years. We've always tried to shine a light on partners,
Mhm.
co-collaborators, and so to give retail partners who have taken a chance on a Single Cask Nation cask in their store,
Yeah.
let's shine a light on them. Let's give
Yeah.
them a moment in the One Nation Under Whiskey sun.
Yeah, there you go. So where did you want to start, Jason? Did you want to start with the retailers? Did you want to start with our online shop and in the number of bottles that we have there?
Yeah, let's go down the retail path. Let's see who has got exclusives. Is this focused on the US or do we have other nations involved here?
Thank you. I appreciate you looking for a bit of specificity there. So we're highlighting only the shops in the U.S. right now. There
Cool.
will be some other countries that will have single cask exclusives. And actually, this is a good point. There is one right now in Canada. Kensington Wine Market has a Kalila that
Mm,
was extra matured in a Brazilian rum cask in a pre that we bottled. If you remember that, it's a
I do
nine-year-old
indeed. That's
Kalila.
a good Kalila. Yep.
I'm actually not sure if there's any of that Kalila left. So if there's any Canadians looking, that would be a good one to check out. But for today's purposes, we're going to be focusing on the U.S. market. A bit later in the year, we will be focusing on some other countries that will have store exclusives. But for today, we're going to be focusing on the US market.
Cool, cool.
So you had mentioned the hotel. The Stanley Hotel in Colorado selected a Krikalicky 11-year-old that was extra matured in New Charred Oak.
Mm,
Now, that was specifically a heavy toast medium char cask. That one, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, you're Going without a net, so you do you.
Here's the interesting thing. I rung up the sales rep there, or importer sales rep, to ask how they're doing that. They're not selling that by the dram. They sell that by the bottle. So
Hmm,
that is a destination hotel, absolute top end luxury hotel. The only way to get that bottle is to go on a luxury holiday and go grab a bottle. So go a mile high, go to Colorado, head off to the Stanley Hotel, and and,
fantastic.
and grab a Kregelke. That is top notch. You got that Worm Tub Distillery, good heavy spirit, and it's got that new charred oak finish on it, right? So it's got some bourbony notes to help
Mm.
round out some sweetness on that sort of heavier, slightly sulfury spirit. It's a really intriguing dram. I remember selecting that one. I want to highlight a bit of. See, listeners can't see me do that. I just pounded my chest and I raised my fist to some Connecticut pride here. Wise old dog in Connecticut selected a Black's Boat Bridge, a 12-year-old. This one, oh, look at that typo. No one pay
I was going to
attention to
say
my
listeners
typo.
don't have to see the typo. But Jason does. So here we go.
Oh,
I'll feel your pain on your behalf, listeners.
oh, Jason, there's going to be so many typos in these banners that I put up here.
Yep.
Um, so this was a Black's Boat Bridge that we did for them. It was 7 years in bourbon and 5 years in Spanish oak Oloroso. One of the things that I love about this particular selection, this was with Jacob, who's the owner, and I'd put 2 cask samples in front of him. And of course he fell in love with both of them, right? It was like, which, do you pick a favorite child? That was his thing. Like, how do I pick between the two? And one of them had I think it was a March birth date. I think it was March 12. And I'm near positive that's the date. He's gonna tongue lash me after this, but he said that's actually my grandmother's birthday.
Hmm.
That's the one that I'm going with. And is
It's,
it?
it's great
Go ahead.
spirit, isn't it? It's hard
Right?
to go wrong. It's you definitely get down to those very small differences, those special differences.
Yeah.
But yeah, what in 2024 we put 5 Black Boat Bridge out into the world, and
Mhm.
then in 2025 we brought in the Black Boat Bridge for Single Cast Nation Online, which we will get to later.
Yeah. And we pay attention to those dates too, right? You look at your birthday, Jess looks for her birthday, you look for your kids' birthdays. So, you can see why he would look for a birthday as well. This time his grandmother's birthday. I'm opening a bottle right now, and then this is actually physically opening this bottle for the first time to
Yeah, so take the
highlight
capsule off then.
the first ever Auchentoshan that we bottled.
Mm.
And this is for Binny's in Illinois. This is a Auchentoshan 10-year-old from Second Fill Bourbon Barrel. This one was interesting, right? It's a 10-year-old, and it was finished for 3 years in Second Fill Bourbon.
Maybe trying to slow it down a little bit. Maybe the wood was particularly active. That would be the normal reason, or
Yeah,
yeah, you were
so
saying Brett, long-time spirits buyer at Benny's, and somebody we've known as long as we've been around this industry in the US. But you were saying he's partial to Auchentoshan, and it's a special person who holds Auchentoshan in a special regard, and I loved hearing it.
yeah.
I also remember selecting this cask, and there's something a little surprising about this Auchentoshan, if memory serves.
Um, I think that you are thinking of a different Auchentoshan that is yet to be released, Jason. I feel as if you're
Really?
trying to yes, you're trying to let a cat that has not yet out of the bag. You're
Hmm.
releasing secrets that are not yet to be released,
I don't think we're
Jason.
talking about the same Auchentoshan.
That's what I'm saying.
No, no, I mean, I'm not trying to let any cats out of any bags.
All right. Okay, so what do you think this Auchentoshan is?
This isn't the Auchentoshan that had a surprising coming in
Yeah,
October to
that's
Eclairs.
that's exactly it. So yes, so Jason,
My
do
lip
not
is buttoned.
we shall not
Oh, that's
fool
fun.
our listeners or viewers here.
Man, man, it's been so long since we selected it. I honestly thought that Auchentoshan was
Yeah.
released last year,
Yeah.
last October.
Yeah. Yeah, this one, so the tasting notes on the side of the label with this, right? We've sort of truncated the tasting notes on our on the label for our new retail bottlings, and so we've got 3 words: bananas, almonds, and poached pears, right?
There you
Really
go.
beautiful notes right there.
Yeah,
So I'm
a
gonna be
fun
sipping this one.
fruity experience.
And I want you to talk about this next one, also bottled for Binny's. You
All
ready?
right.
This one's all you, Jason.
This. Glenbergie selected, not selected by, but inspired, always inspired by long-time nation supporter Michael Nolan. I love the fact that we can meet people along our journey, our physical journeys, who know Michael Nolan as a Glenbergie fanatic from One Nation Under Whiskey. So the
Mhm.
fact that Binny's in Illinois would bring in a Glenbergie uh, and be able to serve the esteemed Michael Nolan is very
Yeah.
special indeed. So I don't know. Did Michael text us a photo of having this in his hands? Is that a thing we've received along the way?
Many times. He just
Many
opened
times.
his 3rd bottle, I wanna say. He's purchased 6. I mean, Glenbergie is his favorite
That's awesome.
distillery. Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is it right here. I think he sends us a picture every time he opens up a new bottle or kills a bottle. Yeah, there's something special about Binny's and Michael Nolan and Single Cask Nation. The the first time I was in Illinois with Single Cask Nation was at a Binny's, and I met Michael there for the first time,
Mm,
and sharing Single Cask Nation. This was, before we were really out there, and the folks at Binny's were so kind to just give us the space to share what we had, and Michael was there to cheer us on and taste the liquid, and it
nice.
was just, they've been with us since the beginning. Michael's been with us since the beginning, and this Glenbergie here just sort of ties a bow onto it. I really like that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I love the idea of him picking six. Purchasing six. Working his way through them.
All right,
Uh,
all right. Yeah, let's move on here. Speaking of Black's Boat Bridge,
indeed.
but changing gears a little bit, yet staying in Illinois, Warehouse Liquors. So we did a 12-year-old, and this is kind of weird. If viewers, listeners, if you know this distillery by now, Black's Boat Bridge, very famous Speyside distillery, family owned, who doesn't typically let any independent bottlers use their name, primarily matures in sherry. Jason famously says he would give you 105 reasons why we
105.
love this distillery.
105.
um, they typically do not release whiskeys matured in bourbon. It's just not a thing that they do. And this whiskey was matured its entire life in bourbon. And Warehouse Liquors released a similarly aged family cask from the Glenfarclas distillery. And we did a tasting last year, December 2024, the day before my birthday, December 5th. And we did a side by side, his family cask next to our Black's Boat Bridge 12-year-old sherry for versus bourbon. And it was, what a wonderful tasting. I think we had close to 50 people in the room. Like it was just a wonderful night.
Yeah, as soon as you told me that Gene at Warehouse was going to take the first fill bourbon, I thought it spoke immediately to Gene and the type of cask selector that he is,
Mhm.
to know that he felt confident in telling a first fill bourbon story
Yeah,
from this distillery that's known for sherry.
yeah,
And if anybody can pull that off, it's Gene. I
right?
love the ownership on that. And again, a bit like us, Gene is a spirit driven guy and really likes having the distilleries distillate
Mhm,
be front and center. And anytime you take a bourbon cask, you're giving much more room to the distillate.
mm,
So I thought this made perfect sense as a selection. And I was really glad that it went to Warehouse Liquors and it had Gene having a chance to tell that story.
for sure. And that was our first collaboration with Gene, and hopefully not our last. It's been such a great partnership. He's a dear friend,
Which
right?
is why it's insane that it's our first cast collaboration with him. You know, he was instrumental in Whiskey Jubilee Chicago. I
Yeah.
feel like every time I'm in Chicago, which isn't a lot, but every time I'm there, we make sure to go to Warehouse Liquors. We make
Mhm,
sure to see Gene. We make sure to taste his most recent selections. Yeah,
mhm.
he's a great guy to catch up with. So yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Love it.
All right, we're gonna leave Illinois for now, and we're gonna go
I thought we were in Illinois for a fair bit there.
we're gonna go to my neck of the woods, and we're gonna head over to Massachusetts, and this one actually isn't a shop exclusive. This is a Massachusetts exclusive. This is an exclusive to the States, and did this before, where it's sort of an exclusive for the independent liquor stores of the state of
Mhm.
Massachusetts. And this is a Feder Cairn that was 9 years in bourbon and then the final 3 years in New Charred Oak. And this one reminded me of an old Weems bottling. It was a 29-year-old Inchgour that they had called the Indian Spice Bazaar.
Mm,
And
mhm.
this one, it just is reminiscent of that, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
and at the time was the very first Fettercairn bottled by us.
Yeah.
To have our first Fettercairn cask become a Massachusetts exclusive.
Yeah.
I created a portmanteau there, and it was not successful. Um, and to have that happen, I think shows the trust we have in our retail partners,
Yeah.
in the ability they have to take some of that spotlight for themselves, and
Mhm.
to be able to say this is the first Federcairn put out by Single Cask Nation, and they were in charge of telling that story. Yeah, again, I'm really thrilled by that. To be honest, I could go through every single one of these relationships and say I'm thrilled, but that's because I am thrilled when people trust Single Cast Nation,
Yeah.
when they're happy to represent Single Cast Nation, when they're going to take on a part of our story for their fans, for the people who buy from them. So, yeah, really good Feta Cairn. And
Mhm.
if I can whisper it, or at least say it out the side of my mouth, Feta Cairn's not one I look for or reach for,
Same.
but what an excellent example of it. And so if you, like us, perhaps don't normally reach for Fettercairn, go have a little look here. When you were dealing with Ryan Maloney of Julio's at the beginning of this collaboration,
Mhm.
am I right in remembering Ryan Maloney is a Fettercairn guy? He does look for it. He does reach for it.
So he's the reason this became a Massachusetts exclusive. So he released sometime during the pandemic, right? A bottling that he called Boba Fettercairn. And it was just perfect. And so when we selected this, I initially offered it to him as sort of a follow-up to that. And he fell in love with it. He agreed that it was excellent Fettercairn. But he'd said, "Why not open this up to the wider Massachusetts market and just and do what you," and these were his words, "Do what you did before." And what he was referring to was back in my old Impex days, I worked with Kilhoman on a sherry hogshead, and there was a special Kilhoman single cask that was for the independent shops, and it was just a
Mhm.
way to sort of bring these shops together to work together for this larger whiskey community, and you had said it at the top of the episode, right? It's this collaborative effort, and and I really liked that push that he gave,
Mhm.
and it wasn't his way of saying no, it was his way of saying, "Let's bring the community together," and that's the way he works, and I just thought it was cool, I can name a bunch of stores, Julio's being one of them, Norfolk and, Four Seasons and Burlington, these are all shops that you can find this bottling at. There are more though, so you can, check out winesearcher.com and you can find this Fettercairn if those shops aren't near you in Massachusetts, right? So, go ahead and check those out. But yeah, it's just such a fantastic bottle. And like you had said, this was our first Fettercairn. We will bottle more. There's more in the works.
Yeah, yeah, and I think as you're talking there about collaboration within a collaboration, here's another example.
Look at you. Pro move, Jason.
Thank you, thank you.
Speaking of Massachusetts and back to the old CT Pride, uh, Burlington Wine and Spirits and Canterbury Liquors here in Connecticut um, shared a cask of La Cranza, aka Isle of Arran, and this was an 8-year-old peated, lightly peated first
Mm,
fill bourbon. Just
so
a
good,
gorgeous cask, right?
so
Yep,
good. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. It's been interesting getting a chance to tell this story. You know, Isle of Arran was the distillery in Lochranza. Then they built Lag in the south of the island. Then they stopped producing peated spirit at the
Hmm.
distillery in the north. They changed the name in the north to Lochranza. So they've got Lochranza in the north and Lag in the south. And we're just trying to fill in those gaps as we
Hmm.
continue to sell from this distillery. And we actively pursue spirit from the Lag distillery.
Hmm.
Um, but to have this lightly peated, what would have been maybe a 2015 distillate on
I think you're right.
the Lacranza here.
Yeah, I think it would have been 2015 on that
Yeah,
if
yeah,
math
great
serves.
time getting towards the end of the run on peated spirit at that distillery. So each time you see a peated Lacranza, know that it was one of the last going towards the end of the run.
And I'm actually glad you brought up that vintage. I found, and maybe you found the same, as they moved further on into their peating, their spirit got fruitier and fruitier. Early
Mm,
on, I found it to be have a bit more minerality to it, and
mm.
then it just got fruitier and fruitier, and that's what I love about this particular bottling. And we'll talk about another Aaron as we get further into this episode, but it's just such a fruity spirit that balances out that delicate peaty quality, right?
Yeah, the baked apples and the citrus to go along
Yeah,
with the
right.
light
So
Highland
good.
peat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
just terrific. Simply terrific.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to get back into a territory of a distillery we usually don't dabble in, and we've only dabbled once, and this would have been what, year 2 of the company?
Yeah, right in the very beginning. It was our second release of three casks
So here we are,
and named as well.
and named an 11-year-old Dalmore in Oloroso Sherry for Potomac Wines and Spirits, and they are in Maryland. I have that right, correct? Yes, they are in Maryland. Um,
Are they?
sure. Uh, lovely, lovely cask of whiskey right here. It's one of those distilleries that for whatever reason, the spirit is never connected with my particular style, and I know so many people actively seek them out, and I understand that. Oh, what's going on, Jason? What are you laughing at?
No, just absolutely agree. Just the way you delicately put that kind of gave me a little
Well,
chuckle.
because we try to be careful with language because I don't think that there's necessarily a distillery that makes bad spirit. I think there's distilleries that make spirit that don't fit with our palates, right? And I think that that's the case in this case.
So I would. We're going to get really close to the line on this one.
Okay, okay.
I I don't dislike the distillate, but I'm not as partial to how they release it. Is that a is that a
Oh,
is that a fair way to say it? Because my number one concern is Dalmore that I experience is always too dilute. I like it when you can actually get the spirit.
there you
I,
go.
I
That's
think
fair. Yeah.
right. I think there's a good grain presence to Dalmore that I
Yeah.
think I think lives very well with sherry. And I think the two, this now being the second, I think the
Hmm.
two Dalmores we've put into the world show that they're making good spirit. I just have a difference of opinion on the bottles.
Maybe, yeah. I think that's a fair statement. That it's diluted. Maybe a bit more strength would help it along for our palates. There you go. Okay,
Right, right.
I
Which
can
I think is why
appreciate
we
that.
have strengths with this.
Yeah.
I'll also confirm before anybody sends an email to info@singlecastnation.com that Potomac Wine and Spirits is in Georgetown, DC.
Which is Maryland, right? Isn't it like technically Maryland?
Yeah.
This next bottling is not yet released. It's going to
Oh,
be released on July 26th at an event called Pete or No Pete in
hmm,
Rochester, Minnesota, run by Jack's Bottle Shop, and I'm going to be there.
nice.
So hopefully some listeners. I know last year Tim Gullicksrud was
Oh,
there,
long time favorite.
right? And there's rumor that another SCN member and podcast listener, Michael Scott, may be headed out there. But this is a bottling of Tormore extra
There you
mature
go.
Oloroso sherry cask. This one was so big and juicy and fruity. Oh man, I can't wait for this particular bottling, Jason.
So the other week I was on the Bourbon Lens podcast
Mm.
and I was talking, funnily enough, to Jake over there. And I was talking to him about our online Tormore, and it was a sample that he poured, and he was floored by it for all the reasons you just outlined for this cask. Uh, Big, bold, soft, rounded, rich, sweet.
Yeah,
Like we have picked a few tremendous Tormores. And so for Jack's Bottle Shop to get their hands on one of these, like, well done. That's going to
yeah,
go over
yeah,
fantastically well.
yeah, yeah.
No doubt about it. And actually, in honor of being on Bourbon Lens, I've got my Tormore right beside me. And so the Tormore 10
Hey,
for e-commerce is what I'm going to pour as
there
we
you
work
go.
her through some of these other casks.
There you go. Okay, cool. So again, Jack's Bottle Shop, Rochester, Minnesota, July 26th. Ooh, geez, Jeepers Creepers. If I got DC wrong, I got to make sure that I'm getting my dates right here. Yeah, July 26th. That is a Saturday at 4:30. Peter No Pete is the event. Please come. I will be there. I will be pouring this, and it's going to be a damn good time. Let's leave Minnesota. We're going to get into New York. Actually, we're going to go online, Jason. We're going to go to Baxis, right?
There we go.
In
It's where we
our
live online.
There you go, online. And to our good friend Tzvi Wiesel, who owns and operates
Indeed.
Baxis.co. which is a great sort of online auction site or bottle selling site. I wouldn't call it a bottle flipping site because he's pretty much against the idea of flippers.
There
It's
you go.
it yeah.
Don't get them
It
started on dolphins.
um, and he does a lot of single casks for his site, single cask exclusive. So a lot of bourbon. So please check those out. But this was his first single malt Scotch whiskey that is done for his site, and it's another first fill
Yeah, love
bourbon black
seeing it.
spoke.
Love
Right?
seeing this. Yeah, kudos
Yeah,
to him.
yeah,
You know, went to bat, and another one where he tasted several samples, and this was the one he was firmly committed to.
right. Yeah, yeah. And I just yes, exactly. And to do this distillery in bourbon, it just goes to show you the quality of their spirit can
Mm.
shine without sherry. I love that people are drawn to it. Please support Baxis. Please support our friend Svi. And if you love bourbon, first, grab this bottle. Second, check out his bourbon casks. Svi has a fantastic palate. You'll be really happy with some of his other bottlings as well.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, cheers,
Jason,
Svi.
we have 4 more casks, but they're all at the same shop. If you
Oh,
were
that'd
to
be good.
guess what shop could support 4 single casks, w
Even if I didn't have the list open in front of me, I would 100% go for Specs in Texas.
Specs in Texas. So he and and
Who
and
have
I'm gonna
supported us very well over the years
very
as
well.
well.
Yeah, yeah. Lovely supporters. And here's an interesting thing. Not only did they select 4 casks, 2 of them are Kalilas,
Mm, mhm.
but 2 very different Kalilas. So, the first one is a 12-year-old in very heavy Oloroso. So, this is a good, rich, dark, Kalila. So, right, people understand Isla whiskey and sherry casks, right? People understand it, they know it, they get it, they look for it, go to Specs, grab it. It's gorgeous. Here's the next one people don't understand. We've never tasted a cask like this before and we had to bottle it. 12-year-old Kalila in toasted French oak. That one was wild. It was just off the I'd never tasted a Kalila like that in my life. Period. Hands down.
You know when people say to us, what's the cask difference between what you sell online in e-commerce and what you sell in retail? And we often say, well, retail, we need that bottle to do its own heavy lifting. We need to be able to sell itself off the shelf. I'm definitely finding as we're focusing today's episode, our cask pick program is allowing retail partners to do a little bit of what we do online with e-commerce, which is to tell a little bit more of a story, to show another side to a distillery, and to see things like bourbon cask matured black spoke bridge, to
Mm.
see toasted French oak Kalila, to see the feta cairn that went into Massachusetts. This is, I'm really loving seeing this today and being able to talk to the nation about this. And I love the fact that Specs took on a cask that if they hadn't taken it on, we 100% would have been selling this in the online store here in America.
Oh my god. Oh, easily, easily. Yeah, this one is like if you were to marry Kalila with a bourbon that had a fair bit of spice, like a high rye
Mm,
bourbon, that's what
mhm,
this is like to me, right?
mhm.
Um, now I'm about to highlight the one cask exclusive that was my personal favorite.
Hmm.
In Alta Bane,
Altvania.
Altabania, Altabane, however you want to pronounce it. Uh, just pronounce it correctly. Um, 11 years old in a recharred red wine cask. Now
There's a
this is
story there.
right, because it wasn't an STR. It wasn't shaved and toasted and then recharred. It was just recharred.
Man, oh man, the things that happen in cooperages,
Yeah.
things that coopers get up to behind closed doors.
Yeah, this one was just super earthy, leathery, yet fruity. You can still get all the fruit from the wine. We don't necessarily know what wine was
No,
previously in it.
no.
Um, but just, yeah,
Is this our first Altavania?
it
Have we
is our
done
first
another
Altavania.
Altavania?
No, this is our very first Altavania. It's a lot of firsts here, right? Our first
It is.
Federcairn, our first Auchentoshan, our first Altavania. Um, yeah,
I
it's
love
been,
this. I love hearing this
yeah.
for retail partners. This
Hmm.
is really cool.
Yeah. All right, Jason, our final retail exclusive,
This is beautiful. An old friend,
Black's Boat Bridge.
an Oloroso.
Right, and, this one was a much higher ABV. This was 64.5% alcohol on this one, yeah.
There's a number. Oh,
And the number one comment I got when I was pouring this, I was at the Galaxy Gala in Austin, Texas. I wanna say this was February,
indeed.
and I'm pouring this for people, and the number one word that I really dislike got thrown at me 500 times, and that was,
I hope it was
"Ooh, this."
smooth. There you go. Glad to hear it.
It was smooth. "Oh, this is smooth," and I would say, "Look at the ABV on that," and they were like, 64.5. Yeah, that's why I didn't wanna show you the ABV.
That's great. That's absolutely great to hear people. That's one time you do want to hear the word smooth, because then you're absolutely ready to show them that label. Turn
Mhm,
that around. That's
mhm,
great. That's a
yeah,
great strength on that.
right. Yeah, and it shows you that, that the high ABV, it comes with oil, right? It comes with the
Yeah.
fats, the lipids, all the things you need to protect your tongue from that alcohol. And that's what we look for. That's the single cast nation calling card. Good oils, good mouthfeel. It's a single cast nation bottling, right?
Yeah. I'm just looking at this list on my screen, and to see that many partners who trust us, trust our selections, represent the
Yeah.
nation, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm a little awed right now to see that. Like, long before you and I had this company, we were buying from Binny's. Long before we had this company, we knew Warehouse Liquors in Chicago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Specs in Texas, the
Right.
behemoth in Texas, sells single cast nation private casts or cast picks. Like,
Yeah.
it's remarkable, really
Yep.
remarkable.
Yep. Special. Yeah, really.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
So, Jason, I realize that we're a bit over our 35 minutes at this point. And
Nods head dramatically.
we
That's for the
have
listener.
we have 16 individual bottlings on our website at
Okay.
this point. And in addition to the 16 individual bottlings on our website, we have 3 bundles on our website, sort of like money saving bundles that sort of help to highlight what we've released in May, and they also bring in some more recent bottlings that we've released, in the past few months. I Because we've gone over our time, I don't want to highlight all of the bottlings. I want to urge people to just go to the website and check out everything we have. Why don't we focus on what we've released in May and talk about these bundles, because we've already sold out of one of the bundles and we're about to sell out of another. And
And that's the part that I definitely want to highlight in today's
yeah,
episode is bundles are limited quantities. Bundles with the ability to save money on them are limited in number. So
yeah,
don't snooze. We had a bundle sell out on launch day, and some people were surprised.
In
So we're
8
here to
minutes on
remind
launch
you,
day, right?
right?
Yeah.
And I'm so we're here to remind you, limited quantities of bundles are made available. So please support those bundles. We save you
I
money. We put money
I'm
back in your pocket.
I'm gonna pour a little Ardent American while we talk
Quite
about
right.
these whiskeys.
Yeah. Jake back in Bourbon Lands, Ardnamurchan American was his favorite of the four we tasted on that night. And that was on top of the Tormore that he loved. Ardnamurchan American
Hey,
took it.
right? I mean, so initially when we were gonna record this episode, I always think of our friends, right? And Tormore comes to mind. I'm like, that's our dear friend Ollie. And they said, Ardent
Indeed.
American? Well, that's Connell, that's Carl, that's Jenny, right?
Indeed.
That's Alex. And I said, well, and I saw you pull the Tormore, so I grabbed the Ardent American. So here we
Yeah.
are.
Checks out. Represent all friends fairly. I've also
Yep.
got our Isle of Arran, Loch Ranza beside me as well, which is
There you
Ewan
go.
Mitchell,
There's
right?
Ewan, right?
Mariella, also a
Right.
good friend of
Yeah.
Jesse's. It's,
Yeah. There you go.
yeah. Whiskey's a family. We shouldn't forget that.
Exactly. Indeed. All right. So let's focus on the whiskey that I can't stop talking about, and that is our Glencadam. I mean, this 13-year-old, 10 years in bourbon, and then 3 years in an STR cask that has been seasoned with Oloroso sherry. And this
Yeah.
one, we put the sample in our glass and we nose it and we said, is this 80s Bowmore?
It, yep. Yep. May do to boot it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just had to pull that up.
Yeah, there you go. For our viewers there, Jason's holding the bottle. Yeah, it's got that classic Glencadam maltiness. It's a hefty malt forward spirit. Glencadam is a blending spirit. They have their own bottlings. Definitely seek them out. No offense to them whatsoever. Their packaging is not flashy. You could walk
Mhm.
by it and you would miss it. And it's unfortunate that you'd miss it because their spirit is remarkable. Their bottlings, I would argue, are unmissable. You should always have a Glencadam on your shelf. And when you grab ours, and you should grab ours, grab one in one of the bundles. We'll talk about that in a moment. Um, our particular Glencadam, it's got that malt presence, but on top of it are these beautiful lavender floral notes, followed by pixie sticks and fun dip and the little candy dots. And when you taste it, I get red hot dollars. The pixie sticks come back, but I also get some of the soft sort of sherry tones that come through as well. Some chocolate covered cherries. You're nosing it. Give us some notes, Jason.
Yeah, just delicious. Everything you're saying. That's. I think you and I were in agreement. The florality when you first pour it doesn't jump out on the nose.
Mm,
When you then put it on your palate, it becomes more pronounced. And then when you return to the nose after tasting it, yeah, to have the number of bottles going out to the nation for them to first open this, to first experience this, I'm really excited to see what comes back from the nation when
mm.
they start sampling this and they start sharing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually handed, a bottle off to Yoni Miller,
Hmm.
our in-house cigar czar. He needed it for a bar mitzvah, and so, had to rush him a bottle, and he sent me a text, and the text said, "Oh, you've gotta read this text, Jason. You're gonna love this." What did his text say? His text said, "Glencadam fucks hard." There you
Right.
go.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Comes with
So,
an R
yeah.
rating.
Yeah, it comes with an R rating, so he quite liked it. Yeah, we're getting texts from a couple people who are just starting to receive their bottles, and they're loving them. They're loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely one you can't fully understand this until you taste it. We did our tasting notes that are on YouTube. We talked about it in a previous One Nation Under Whiskey Extra Extra. Here we're talking about it again. Once the nation starts popping corks on this, I think this is going to take on a life of its own. And
Yeah,
I said it way back in the beginning before launch. I think this is going to catch fire and become a bit of a legendary bottling
yeah,
around single cast nation.
yep. Agreed, agreed. And there's going to be people who slept on it and will regret having slept on it, and they'll say, "Damn it, I shouldn't have slept on it."
But it's still on the website now.
There you go. So there you go. Don't sleep on it. All right. So let's move on. We have, speaking of Black's Boat Bridge, we've released our first Black's Boat Bridge 12-year-old, 7 years in
Mm.
bourbon, 5 years in sherry, American oak sherry on this one, on the website. Now, the last time we released whiskey from this distillery on our website, look at the flavometer, Jason.
That was just for people watching on YouTube.
Oh, amazing. That was a 9 out of 10 in richness on the
And we
flavometer,
mean it. We
and we
mean
mean it.
every unit
Yeah.
of that 9 out of 10.
But the last time we released whiskey from this distillery on the website was 9 years ago. 9. And it was a 9-year-old, and we were able to use the distillery name front and center on the label,
Yep.
which was quite
Yep.
nice.
Different contract in place at that time.
Yep, different contract. But, this one I quite like because there is a big richness to it, but at the same time, there's a bright quality to it. It's quite engaging, almost spring-like. It's there's
Mhm.
a juxtaposition happening there. It's really cool.
Yeah. I think they were remarkable too. So for people who did get the bundle, your May Flowers bundle,
Yeah.
I think those people are going to have two remarkable single malts to put side by side. However, if you missed out on the bundle, both bottlings are still available on the ecom website at the time of recording. Who knows what'll happen once we put this in the can, ready for
Yep,
launch.
yep, that's a good point. Uh, Speaking of bundles, we have our Fired Up bundle. Now, at the time of recording, we have 5 of these bundles left, and that is
Nice.
our Black's Boat Bridge 12-year-old and our Balcones 4-year-old. Now, normally that would be $205 if you bought them individually. You'll save $20 if you buy them as a bundle. The reason we call this Fired Up is both of these distilleries are known for direct firing their stills. And that's what helps make their spirit. That's what helps to give their spirit that depth of character. And we like a little bit of wordplay, and so here we are. But yes, in all seriousness, Jason, these are the last 5 bottles of Balcones. That's why there's only 5 left. There's no more Balcones after this.
Yeah, it's a cheeky little bundle with a nice little saving. So yeah,
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 yeah. Pleased to collaborate with Balcones. Good people over there. Really good
yeah,
people.
yeah, really good. Uh, Now, the next bundle to highlight here is, and I had to truncate the name of the bundle because it was kind of long, and it was called Highlanders. There can only be two. Um, and this is a combination of our Glencadam and our Tullabarton 9-year-old. There we go,
Right.
Jay.
This Tullabarton, there's my own personal bottle of this, right? About halfway through for those watching on YouTube. But Tullabarton is sitting on our website for $85 a bottle. And in this world of ever increasing pricing and the future tariffs, like an $85 single malt is crazy. Single cast strength. Strength
Yeah,
on it, 61.5. With the aid of its 9 years spent maturing in first fill bourbon, this delightful Tullabarton shows firm structure, abundant oak spice, and several buttery elements that includes buttered popcorn in the finish. Like, uh, how do we still
yeah,
have Tullabarton on the website?
doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know Tullabarton. And I think this is a nice entry point to Tullabarton. If you don't know it, $85 as a single bottle, or get it through the bundle. and you're saving on both the Glencadam and the Tullibardine, right? So here's a great way to capture the Glencadam at a lower price and dip your toe into Tullibardine, right? So
If I told somebody in the street they could go to our website, find an $85 Tullibardine that they could save money on, how long do you think they would spend talking to me in the street before they pulled out their phone, went to singlecastnation.com and purchased this Highlanders bundle?
I think the person on the street would be like, "Sir, I'm just trying to, get the money out of the ATM." Like,
I love the fact you think people still use ATMs.
well, I was trying to think of what other people. At first, I was picturing you like talking to someone panhandling or something. Like, "Sir, I'm just trying to, get a couple bucks to buy a meal." And
Yeah. I know you want a cup of coffee, but let me talk to you about a Tullibardine single casket cask strength.
Ah. Oh, Jason. All right. You ready to talk about our final bundle?
I'm ready to wrap this tight 35.
Tight 35. All right. Opposites attract. So here's another one that really blows my mind. Speaking of whiskeys that have sat on our website for a bit too long. This one doesn't make sense to me. So our Opposites Attract bundle is a combination of our Blacksboat Bridge 12-year-old and our Bunnahabhain Stoisha. So Stoisha being their heavily peated spirit from Refill Bourbon. So you've got a Space Cider, heavily sherried, and then an Isla whiskey, Refill Bourbon, heavily peated,
Nice.
right? Normally 210 if you got them as individuals, or you can spend 195, save yourself $25 across the pair. That's not so bad. And I think we've got 10 of
Save
those
how much
left.
across the pair?
Isn't that 25?
210 selling for 195, $15 saving.
Oh, $15 savings, right? But 25 if you're bad at math. Oh, that's what. You know why, Jason? Because it's 185. That's why, Jason. Yeah. Yeah,
A
let me
typo
fix the
within a
banner.
typo
Oh
within a
man.
typo.
There you go. This is like Inception.
You were
There we
so
go.
busy focused on ST, is it A and then O and then I, then the SH, and it ends with an 8. You were so focusing on all that right that you messed up the number. So 185. Who knows if that's true? We've just saved people $25. Buy them now
So,
before we correct our error.
so the one thing that I knew was that it was a $25 savings. I knew it was $25.
Oh
Yes, it is.
man,
It is. It's 185. So there you go, right? $25 savings across two bottles right there. So
there you go.
there you go, Jason.
Yeah,
And we've
the
got about
bundles are
10 of those
great.
left.
They really are. The bundles are doing yeoman's work, and we're doing everything we can to find savings for the nation. And we've said it in other episodes, we've said it along the way, but we're always looking to sell these for the best price we possibly can. And while the environment changes and the political landscape changes, and the cost of casks changes, we're always fighting for the nation front and center. And so
Yep.
here you are, $25 saving on a couple of things that, from my experience with the nation, everybody in the nation would love. Blacksboat Bridge heavily sherried and Bunnahabhain Stoisha heavily peated. It's a no-brainer, and
Right.
185 is the correct price. And I'm proud of that. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm proud of our collaborations. I'm proud of these bundles. I'm proud of saving people money. Proud of all of our selections. We're fighting, man. We're fighting the good whiskey fight over here, and appreciate having the nation behind us.
Indeed. Indeed. Well said. On that note, Jason, listeners, viewers, speaking of viewers, if you're watching this, we urge you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once you subscribe, click the little bell down below so you're alerted of new videos. We're not only do we release these news videos every other week, but we do tasting notes videos as well for our online bottlings. Soon enough, we'll be releasing tasting notes for our retail bottlings as well. So I know a lot of people have been asking for tasting videos and us to do more of them. So, you know, we definitely hear you, and we want to do what you we want to do what you tell us to do. You ask, we answer. You tell us to jump, we say how high, right?
Yeah. What strength?
What strength? Like
Cask.
what strength cask?
What
What?
strength? Cask. Cask strength. Everything we do is cask strength. You said jump. How high? Strength. Cask.
Cask. Oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't very
Yeah.
good though.
Yeah. It's best when they're explained. That always heightens.
Yeah, it's
Heightens
best when they're
jump.
good. Yeah.
Wasted.
It's just best when they're good. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On
All
that
the
note,
shit I've listened to in this episode, and I get it in the final 3 seconds. Wow. Wow. Okay. Typo is nonsense out your mouth. Okay.
uh, dear listeners, dear viewers, if you have any questions, email us info@singlecastnation.com. If you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed the audio of this, please go to Apple Podcasts or go to Spotify, whatever you listen to this on, and give us a 5-star review. Leave a comment. If we see the comment, we will read it. We will announce it. We will mention your name. We'd really love that. We'd really appreciate that. And if you've loved watching this or listening to this, tell your friends. Spread the good word. Let them know about the podcast. Let them know about our whiskeys. And until next time, we bid you adieu. We say slange. We say l'chaim. Is there anything else we say, Jason?
I feel like this is the next time. Did we take a 2-week break from this recording? Thanks, Nation.